And welcome to the final show in this cautious 4-episode commission from the BBC. We're now living under a Conservative government. We've kind of been normalised to it, haven't we? Theresa May keeps going on TV and doing that weird smiling thing that she does. You know that thing that's halfway between having a stroke and screaming forever? And I often wonder what she's doing. Is she doing her pelvic floor exercises on national television? By this stage, she must be able to snap a cricket stump in half. She's had to bring Michael Gove into her cabinet. Putting Michael Gove in charge of the environment is like putting an orangutan in charge of the Foreign Office, something which she's also done. David Davis, the Brexit negotiator, he's the favourite to be the next Tory leader. David Davis is 68, Jeremy Corbyn is 68, and Vince Cable is dying. It'd be good to have one party leader who wasn't conceived by gaslight in an air raid shelter. I don't trust our Brexit negotiating team, incidentally. I think our Brexit negotiating team are the sort of people who would end up paying full price on a DFS sofa. The Labour Party are leading in the polls. Jeremy Corbyn's leading in the polls. If there was an election tomorrow, Labour would win, and yet Corbyn still doesn't have the support of his own MPs. So he might be ahead in the polls, but he's still the worst person at controlling a party since Michael Barrymore. OK, on with the show. Joining me to discuss this week's big topics, please welcome Sarah Pascoe and Catherine Ryan. Hello.
Hello.
It's been a couple of weeks. What have you been up to?
I've invented a drinking game.
Whoa!
Yeah, the Trump treason drinking game.
How do you play?
Basically, when you watch the news, if there's a sentence that has Trump and treason together,
Yeah.
you take a drink.
I've been playing the game without even knowing about the game.
Well, Donald Trump Jr. is really working at making that game happen for you, isn't he?
He's admitted to an attempt at collusion with Russia via tweet, hasn't he? But he's innocent and transparent, says Donald Trump Sr. So it's sort of like he went to a drug deal, but then they sold him oregano, so he's cool.
It takes quite a bit of work to be the black sheep of the Trump family, doesn't it? Now, our first motion, we don't need to worry about the environment because we are all about to disappear in a ball of nuclear light. I suppose there's part of every one of us that hopes that at some point soon politics will go back to normal, that Twitter can go back to being what it's supposed to be, a platform to send death threats to X Factor finalists. Well, it won't. We live in a world where foreign policy norms seem to lack any kind of morality, where neo-colonial policies make our military adventures abroad little more than licensed murder, where Britain thinks of itself as having a special relationship with America, but America thinks of Britain as somewhere that it stores its missiles, somewhere a bit like a shed. With an encircled Russia, with a North Korean leader firing missiles into the Sea of Japan, raising the very real risk of waking Godzilla. And with a US president so deranged, you could form a better president from the meat in his colon. I mean, I think one of the main obstacles to world peace, obviously, is Donald Trump. I mean, say what you like about Trump, he's proved a lot of people wrong. Sadly, not George Orwell, Margaret Atwood, or whoever wrote the Book of Revelation. I think one of our main problems is that we don't really understand the moral problems of how we act in other countries. We think that we target militant people with missiles, we have precision targeting. You can't do that. You can't target something specifically if you're going to blow it up with high explosives. There's no point finding the clitoris if what you find it with is an uppercut. Joining us to discuss our impending doom, please welcome Romesh Ranganathan and Desiree Birch. welcome. Are you worried about disappearing in a curtain of flame?
I'm not, no. No, I'm not. I don't think disappearing in a ball of nuclear light sounds that bad. In the past, with all the sort of bullets and stuff like that, whereas this, you just go. It sounds nice. If anything, I wouldn't want to be a survivor. That's the worst. That's the absolute worst. If there was a danger of us getting nuked, I'm jumping in the car with my wife and kids and heading straight towards the blast point. Like, that's what I'm doing.
That would be a great movie.
Yeah.
Or a great travelogue series.
I just wouldn't want to survive it. Because, like, you know, you've got to then repopulate the Earth. So if it's...
boring.
Well, not just boring, though. You have your kids, and then you've got to give them the most twisted birds and bees talk of all time. Do you know what I mean? When a man loves a woman, and by that I mean you two...
I have to agree. I mean, unfortunately, I think that we're going to be asphyxiated by cow farts far before we actually die in the nuclear winter. So if nuclear winter comes, like, I'm super for it. Because, again, you know, not only do you have to, like, you know, have your brother and sister make babies, but then they have to, like, recreate the world, like, figure out what language we're all going to speak, figure out who we're going to decide to oppress, to create a fake economy, like, start everything over again. You know, it's a lot of work.
You've got to reinvent Netflix. Like, fuck that.
Yeah.
So, first up, Donald Trump's image among his supporters is built around his proclaimed love of America. Take a look at this peculiar behaviour.
Who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt about this land. God bless the USA.
I do think there is an element of, like, kind of Stockholm syndrome. I've started to find some things about him genuinely inspiring. I think he's cool. I think that is I'm going to end my Edinburgh show like that.
I agree.
Just a clap and a double thumbs.
I actually think that's good. For him, I mean. I mean, not good for the world and our descent towards the apocalypse, but in terms of what he was doing, he's trading on patriots, right? And that is actually a killer move. He's going up and hugging a flag.
There's that thing where people sort of go, is he getting better? Has he been more presidential? And it's sort of like you've invited a bear into your house, and on the first day it's like torn your living room apart and shat in the microwave. And people are like, oh, that might be it from the bear. Maybe he's going to learn from this. No, he's a bear. Anyway. When analysing the danger Trump poses, it's important to look at the people advising him. Here, Trump reveals his most trusted advisor in this alarming phone interview.
So, Donald, who are you talking to consistently, since we have some dire foreign policy issues percolating around the world right now? Who are you consulting with consistently so that you're ready on day one?
I'm speaking with myself, number one, because I have a very good brain and I've said a lot of things.
It's a good brain. Don't tell me it's not a good brain. I have a good brain.
In many ways, he's incredible, right? He's a demagogue in the purest sense, right? In terms of, listen to anybody else, they go, we're going to take money from this fund and we're going to put it into this. And then you just listen to him and he goes, I'm going to make healthcare so great. And then they go, how? Just, it's going to be amazing. Trust me. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And ISIS, we're going to kick the shit out of them. How are you going to do it? Just trust me, we're going to kick the shit out of them. He just says this, and you go, yeah, I want that to happen.
He must be thinking about assassinating Trump, mustn't he?
No, because the assassinators are on his side.
Yeah.
You're not going to have, like, a vegan just go shoot him in the face.
Right. Trump's broadcasting allies, Fox News, were keen to investigate who American students see as the real threat to world peace, and they weren't too happy with their downbeat responses.
All right, Tucker, thanks so much. 24 minutes after the hour. Well, they are supposed to be some of the smartest students in the world, but one question got some pretty shocking answers at Harvard.
What is a bigger threat to world peace, America or ISIS?
To world peace? Well, America.
I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't create the problem of ISIS ourselves.
We are, at some level, the cause of it.
They're trying to appear to be intellectual when they claim that America is a greater threat to world peace.
I guess they're just a lot smarter than us, and that's why they seem to say that.
You know, of course they're going to say that. They're at Harvard. They've gone to college. This is the first time as Americans that they've been opened the real history books to go, we're actually kind of pieces of shit. And they're talking, you know, so everyone gets really liberal when they get to college because it's the first time, like, the wool's taken off of their eyes.
Yeah.
There's also that thing of they're sitting there going, I guess they're smarter, and you're like, people don't sit and watch Usain Bolt and go, oh, he's run like 9.57 seconds. I suppose he thinks he's faster than me.
It's not a new thing that America are a greater threat to world peace than ISIS. I mean, arguably, under Obama, they were a greater threat to world peace than ISIS. The assumption is that he wasn't a violent president, and so Trump has actually highlighted, by his idiocy and madness, how dangerous the times are that we live in. So that's a positive thing about Trump. There's a thing that's better about him than Obama.
But the sad thing is, Obama created all this apparatus with his kill lists and drones and all that kind of stuff, and then he handed it over to Trump.
Yeah.
You know, so in a way, it's the worst of all worlds.
Yeah. You've got to be careful about next owner. When you're creating this shit.
I did a gig in Cheltenham one time, and there's a BAE Systems, I think, or some kind of weapons manufacturer near Cheltenham. I started giving some people in the audience a hard time about developing weapons, and a guy said, I don't work on weapons, I just design tail fins for missiles. It's nothing to do with me. So that's his way of dealing with it, of creating that disconnect. He goes, I just work on the temperature that flesh melts at.
BAE Systems is an interesting one because there's a page on their website explaining about that they're carbon neutral. And that they're a carbon neutral company who are worried about the people's future.
Yeah, for every civilian that's killed, they plant a new one.
Now, the main customer for British Arms is Saudi Arabia. The truth is, everyone knows that many Western democratic beliefs aren't compatible with the Saudi regime, and it's becoming harder and harder for politicians to defend our relationship with them, as this up-close and uncomfortable footage demonstrates.
Well, you were over there. The Secretary criticised the conduct of the Iranian elections and Iran's record on democracy. He did so standing next to Saudi officials. How do you characterise Saudi Arabia's commitment to democracy? And does the administration believe that democracy is a buffer or barrier or against extremism?
I think what we'd say is that one terrorism threat is coming from Iran. And that's coming from a part of the Iranian apparatus that is not at all responsive to its electorate. Okay, thank you.
It's so rarely that you actually see a human being buffering.
Yeah. It's quite interesting to me as well. He goes, eventually when he thinks of it, he goes, what we say is. So he's reaching for the doctrinal response. He knows that there is an answer to this, but he's looking in the logical half of his brain. Go, oh, why would we do that? Oh, yeah, what we say is.
I think that when we complain about our country dealing with Saudi Arabia, we don't even change our personal lifestyle based on the ethics of things. And we're so obsessed with the origins of things when the origin is nice, right? Like, so I bought this, like, thing from Lush and it said, this soap was packaged by Tom, who lives in Surrey. It didn't have a little story like that on the shirt made by little Sanjay, and his hobbies are sewing, and crying about sewing. Do you know what I mean?
But keeping us safe is so low on our government's list of priorities. So Blair, before the Iraq war, is told this will increase terrorism. He stands up in the House of Commons and goes, this will make us safer from terrorism. Cameron's told before he goes into Libya, this will increase terrorism. He stands up in the House of Commons and goes, this will keep us safe from terrorism. They're safe from terrorism. Like, Tony Blair's got armed guards outside his house, and he doesn't even live in a rough area. You know, I mean, who's going to assassinate him? You know, the guy that wrote fucking Love Actually. With the end of the world on the horizon, you may be wondering if people actually pay attention to all the scaremongering spread by the media and, well, me. Take a look at some paranoid citizens in these terrifying scenes from American TV show Doomsday Preppers.
Across the country, ordinary Americans from all walks of life are taking whatever measures necessary to prepare.
I'm preparing my family for the total destruction of the power grid.
The Yellowstone supervolcano.
A financial collapse. And protect themselves.
When survival's the goal, it's into the spider hole.
Fast. Go.
From what they perceive as the fast approaching end of the world as we know it.
So I'm gonna use like this.
I like the way it said these people come from all walks of life. They seem to come from one walk of life, nutter.
Some of those things make sense, but massive plate of pasta made no sense.
Every generation has this fear of the end of the world. I think it's narcissistic, actually, to be like, it's gonna be us, this guy. It's not gonna be us.
That's the thing you said. That contradicts your proposition, because you're saying we're all about to disappear in a ball of nuclear light. And these preppers are hoping that they're not going to. And then those people are going to reproduce, and that's what the human race is going to be. That's more terrifying than your proposition. If we all die, brilliant. If those pricks are left behind, dear God, help us all.
So, in conclusion, we humans are doing our shitty best to destroy the planet. We've flattened the rainforests, we've bleached the Great Barrier Reef, and we're about 3 rhinos away from killing the rhinos. But we do have one great ecological success story to our name. We have created super gonorrhea. We've barebacked ourselves a whole new strain of antibiotic-resistant living fuck juice. And for that, we should be proud. Together, we have created something that refuses to die. In a landscape of unremitting horror and destruction, we have fucked hope into a dying world. Super gonorrhea will be the one enduring legacy of human civilization. It will be our Sistine Chapel, our King Lear. But we can't be complacent. We must ensure our precious creation will survive the coming nuclear holocaust. It is our duty to transfer antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea to cockroaches. This is how we must spend our last days on Earth, having unprotected sex with cockroaches. Before the bombs start falling, we must fuck our cultural legacy into those hardy insectoid time capsules. Even now, I'm speaking to you with a live cockroach sellotaped to the tip of my cock. Because it's the right thing to do. This is the circle of life. Hakuna Matata. Next up, our lives are being ruined by technology. This is the idea that technology has consumed what happiness we once had. I was sitting in the park the other day reading my phone, and everybody else was sat there on their phones. And a guy came along, and do you know what he did? He stood around in the park just looking at the trees like a fucking serial killer. And this is before we get to the exploitation involved in most of our technology. White adults get to live in a permanent childhood because black children have to live as adults. Technology could be a good thing, but it exists within the constructs of capitalism. You know, YouTube could be good, but it's ruined by adverts. What is there about me spending 5 hours watching pensioners falling over that suggests that I'm in the market for a brand new Lexus? Guys, are you worried by technology?
I just couldn't disagree with you more. I think that our lives have been enhanced by technology, and if you want proof of that, go try taking a shit without your phone.
You can sit in the toilet and receive death threats and...
That's part of the joy of life.
It's great, because for, like, every death threat you get, you also get, like, some long-distance flirt from someone that you're never going to meet. And you're just like, great, it kind of balances out. It's like a lovely little, like, game of, like, you want to kill me, you want to fuck me, you want to do both. This is great. It's exciting.
I love technology. It has enhanced my life in every way. I'm very lazy. Sometimes I ignore my own child just to look at photos of my child.
Now, the advance in robotics raises many questions, such as the threat to jobs and the dangers of artificial intelligence. But, as always, the only thing people want to know is, can we fuck them? Something Kirsty Wark has investigated in this chilling and uncomfortable Newsnight discussion.
Is it acceptable to use so-called sex bots to redirect dark behaviour from humans to robots, or will they have a reinforcing effect? These dolls are coming, and what would you say that actually they can be programmed and actually to make verbal responses?
Well, we have to make a decision about whether we use that for good or bad, don't we? Like we always do with technology. So there's something to be said for allowing these dolls to work with people that have committed rape in order to kind of rehabilitate them. There's some research...
But it could be an accelerator, couldn't it? It could be the idea that once they have done this many times with a supposed inanimate object and had absolutely no pushback from it or no censure, that actually they may go out and actually rape humans.
Did she just say absolutely no pushback from a rape doll?
Those seem to be questions that had only ever occurred to Kirsty Wark. I think it's almost definite that people will fuck robots. There might be an intermediary stage where it's just poor people wrapped in Bacon foil. But, I mean, men are definitely going to fuck robots. Bill Cosby won't even bother charging his up.
There's always been this debate, will robots take over humans? Will they take our jobs and replace us? I think humans are more turning robotic because we're always on our phones. A lot of things are done for us. We have sex less. I'm essentially a robot now.
Like, how does the morality work? Because at some point, like when robots evolve, because they're evolving to be human-like, then we're just slave owners for robots taking all of the
I think the thing that you're forgetting is they're fucking robots.
Yeah.
As machines take on more human attributes, they become a threat to jobs, especially manual labour. Here's observational footage of a robot's robustness being assessed with cutting-edge scientific techniques. When he was going out the door at the end, I thought he was off to kill that guy's family.
Totally.
Basically a £10 million robot that earns minimum wage. You know that robot's final destination is to wear a crown of guns as he runs through some village playing Donald Trump's tweets through a tannoy on his face.
Picking up children who are 10 pounds or less.
You survive. Anyway, drones are becoming part of our daily lives as their abilities to perform multiple tasks grows. Here's shaky outdoor footage of just what they're capable of. Good luck fucking that. Now, the advance in technology also raises questions about human life itself and if we're in fact real or part of a complex computer simulation. Billionaire founder of Tesla and real-life Bond villain Elon Musk has suggested that we aren't real and we're in fact living in a computer simulation.
Was the idea it's alien over? Is it alien?
It's not so much. It's more like there's a base reality which would have developed simulations to a point where they could create a simulated universe. Yeah. And from that point, those simulations would create simulations, so there would be billions of simulated universes. So then, if you accept that, the chances of us being the base reality are billions to one.
Oh, I see.
So imagine, like, human beings designed a computer game called Sims, where people live kind of like human-like lives. And if in Sims they started designing a game which was little people who looked like Sims who were just behaving, right? And then that game started doing another game inside it where people who looked like them were just living lives like theirs. Yeah.
And then would those people then do another... I think I'm getting it.
Well, the screwed up thing thing about this is that all of these scientists who forever have been browbeating all of these sort of, fundamentalists are basically like, oh yeah, actually intelligent design. There is something up there that made all of this happen. And you're like, wait a second, we've been yelling at these, cavemen who are like, oh, evolution doesn't exist and somebody made it, for years. And then it was like, oh no, actually, somebody made it. It's just not a dude with a beard.
I think the danger when people start going, oh, it's not real, is when someone who is already mentally unsound goes, oh, I see, I don't have to obey morality. Someone thinks this is exciting.
Or someone starts just living as if they're in Grand Theft Auto because they've watched Sunday Brunch. Try and explain why they're holding up a police station. Did you not watch Sunday Brunch? Well, that's all we've got time for. That's the end of the series. We might all be dead in a week. Thanks to my guests, Sarah Pascoe, Catherine Ryan, Romesh Ranganathan and Desiree Bosch. But before I go, I'd like to leave you with this thought. The Russian hacking scandal continues to dominate the news. So let's have a think about Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is a very clever man. In fact, Vladimir Putin is so clever, I think the guy we see on TV, I don't think that's Vladimir Putin. That's the front guy, the guy put there to take the assassination attempts. Why would Putin, if he's so clever, be there himself? I think Vladimir Putin is a very old cobbler in St. Petersburg. And once a week, the Russians go down there and ask him what they should do. And he always insists on finishing the shoe that he's working on. Invade Turkey. That's always kind of an awkward moment for me, because if no one laughs at the first shoe, I have to start making a second shoe. But the second shoe is a real moment of crisis, because if no one laughs there, why would they make a third shoe? I'd have to pretend that he's kind of messed up one of the shoes and had to start again. And that's beyond my abilities as a mime artist. Anyway, hold that idea. Maybe out in Siberia somewhere, there's a lumberjack living in the middle of nowhere with a big white wolf. And that wolf is Vladimir Putin. Or, what's the photo you always see of Vladimir Putin? He's naked from the waist up and riding a horse. Perhaps Vladimir Putin is trying to prepare us for the fact that he is a centaur. One day you'll switch on the news and there'll be Vladimir Putin galloping into the United Nations and taking a 2-minute long piss. He taps out a message with his hoof until someone informs him that he has a mouth and can speak. Vladimir Putin says that he doesn't care and that this is also what the hoof message will say when they translate it. Vladimir Putin will ride himself to victory in the Cheltenham Gold Cup. And one day his advisor will say, Vladimir, you're not a centaur, you're an old cobbler who is losing his mind and happens to run the world. And the old cobbler doesn't answer because he is flirting with a woman's torso that he has stitched onto a dead horse. Of course, the old man doesn't have the strength to stitch a dead woman onto a horse or the faculties to know any different. So what he's actually flirting with is a porn mag that his advisor has tied onto a Labrador. And the advisor leaves to go back to Moscow and do what he does every week, to try to make sense of the orders he has received, unaware that he is, and has always been, Vladimir Putin. Good night.
Frank.